Alright, well, welcome to the 5th installment of how to set up your Canvas course. This will be the last video I'll do for now, and I'll probably try to put out a video maybe once or twice a week on a schedule of some kind, just to kind of explore some of the more specialized things that you can do in Canvas, or for example, how to do some things like set up group assignments in Canvas, which is really cool. You can set up assignments where students are in groups, and then they can turn in one assignment, but you can grade it for each individual. So there are a lot of really complex things that Canvas can allow you to do, but I'm not going to put those necessarily in this sort of introductory set of videos. So just look for those in the future. One thing before we get started today with what we're going to talk about, which is how to start adding content to a course, one thing that I didn't mention yet that I think is really a nice feature is the inbox. So I want to show you this feature. It's on your left-hand toolbar. So if I click on inbox, what this allows you to do is you can message, you can send messages to your whole class in ManageBack, and you do that through messages. You can also do that through Canvas with announcements. But one thing that you have the ability to do in Canvas is you can also message individual students or a group of students or a group of teachers and students. And all that can be done, as I said, because it talks to PowerSchool. So to compose a new message, I'm going to come over here and click on this little box. And I can select the course that I want to message students in. So let's say I want to send a message to a film crew in my film class that are all working on the same project. So to send a message to them, I'm going to go over here to the address book, and I can either choose teachers in the course, I can choose students in the course. I've already set up student groups, so these are, again, this is more one of the advanced things you can do, but I've got them grouped according to their production team. So let me go ahead and select that. All right, and so we've got music video group 1. Let's say that's who I want to send a message to, so I'm going to select them. And those are the students, the 4 students in that group. All right, so I'm going to select this person, and I think maybe I could have selected the whole group. Yeah, there we go. Okay. All right, so I can send a message to everyone in that group. We'll just say test. Oops. And I can either send it as a group message or send an individual message to each recipient. So I just type in my message, hello. And I can also attach a file, or I can record an audio or video comment. So if I just want to send them an audio message real quick, I can do that. I mean, I haven't used that feature yet, but it's really cool that it's there. So then when I'm done, I hit send. And they can, of course, reply to that. Also, they get notifications in their app when I've sent a message, so that helps as well. Okay, so I wanted to show you that feature before we get started. So our learning target for today is I want to create a module in Canvas. Modules are kind of like units. Publish the module and explore the content that a module can include. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on today. So to do that, again, I'm working with a course that I don't use for Canvas right now, so it's fresh and should be kind of the way that you see it. In the last video, we went through and set up the settings, so hopefully you've done that with your course and you're ready to go. Now the last step that we're going to do today is actually publish the course. That would be by clicking that button. So it's currently unpublished, and with Canvas, anything can be published or unpublished, any kind of content, and that includes modules. So you always want to pay attention to what's published and what's not, because you have control over that. So to get started, I'm going to create a new module, and let's call the module, let's call it how to use Canvas. I can also select, if this would be more if you were teaching like an online course or a course with a, kind of a very concrete schedule. So I could select this module to unlock at a certain time or date. I usually don't do that, so I'll just uncheck that and then add the module. Alright, so you'll notice the module is just a big empty square. So what we need now is to add the content. Now again, I want to point out, because this kind of confused me at first, that just because I can see the module, it doesn't mean that it's published. And to show you that, I can go to Student View, and there's nothing there. So if a student logged into this course right now, this is all they would see. They would not see that module because it's not published yet. So that's a good way to use that student view, just to double check that you've checked all the boxes. All right, so what is a module and what can I do with it? So a module is, the best way to think of it, it's a linear arrangement of all the content in your course as you want to go through it. To give you an example of how a module looks when you set it up, let me open up one of my other courses that I do use Canvas for. And I'll go into Honors English. So you can see that we've got two modules or two units that we've been teaching already in this course. We've got our first module, The Struggle is Real, and we've got our second module, Beowulf, Heroes and Monsters. Now what's nice is I can even reorder these modules. So if I want to drag this module up here to the top, I can do that, and I may do that kind of as we add modules, but everything is movable in Canvas, which is nice. I can move assignments or content and reorder that. So that's what I mean by modules allow you to create kind of this linear progression that students can go from day 1 to day 30 or day 40 or 50 and kind of see everything that's been put in the course in the order that it was put into the course. And so one thing that I've done with each of these modules is put in a link to the unit planner that we're using for that module. So this is just a link that we've created, and I'll show you how to do that in a second, to a Google Doc. And if I click on the link, it'll open up the unit planner that we're using. So Canvas in that respect this is where kind of it's not as good as ManageBack. It does not have the embedded IB or the DP or MYP unit planner. Of course, if you're teaching a high school course that doesn't fall under MYP or DP, you're kind of used to that anyway, because you kind of have to go into a PDF already and put in all that information. So this is really not any kind of a new hurdle, so to speak, but that is where you can put your unit planner. So what we've done is just created a Google Doc as a unit planner that we can enter updates into live, rather than creating we could have done exported a PDF and just put the PDF file in the module. But adding the link allows us to edit the document in real time, add the clear learning targets as we go, and so on and so forth. So this is kind of what a published module looks like. If I go to Student View, you can see it looks very similar to what I see because I've published all of this stuff. So they can, if they're absent on August 23rd when I gave the summer reading assessment assignment, they can click on that assignment and see what they missed, how to turn it in. I'll talk more about pages in a minute, but pages are basically they're areas where you can put content, but it's not necessarily an assignment. It's just content that you've talked about in class that day, or maybe a video that you've watched. Notice I put my clear learning targets in there so they can kind of even see that, even if they weren't in the classroom on that day and didn't see it written on the board, they can see it written in here. And right next to all the content, I can put links in there. And then, if they want to go on to the next thing, they go on to the next thing. So Canvas makes it very, very easy for students to navigate through the units and the content that accompanies those units in your courses. All right, so let's go back to the dashboard here and go. Oh, I'm still in student mode. I made that mistake before, so I've got to leave student view now. All right, and I'm going to go back to journalism. So how do we add content to a module? All right, well, there's a couple ways we can do this. So I'm going to show you the way that I prefer to do it, but I'll show you the other way so that you'll know both approaches. So the first way, the way that I prefer, is to, within the module space itself, to click the plus symbol. So when I click the plus symbol, it brings up the screen, add item to how to use Canvas, which is the title of the module. So then I can use this drop down arrow and this gives me all the types of content that can be added to a module. I can add an assignment, I can add a quiz, I can add just a file, I can add a page, I can add a discussion, a text header. This would be like if I've got different sections within that module, like with teaching film, if I've got a section on cinematography and I've got a section on mise en scène and I got a section on editing. I could divide that up within the same module. Here's where I can add just a link to an external page or a video, something like that. And this is where I can add a link to an external tool. So this would be, again, looking at things like Mastery Connect, Quizlet. Remember I added that app in the last episode. So I could add content directly from Quizlet into there. So again, this is just very, very kind of, it's as complex as you want to make it. I don't recommend that you just, dive into the deep end right away. I would just get my feet wet with creating assignments, pages, files, and that sort of thing. Don't create any real high-stakes stuff right away in Canvas. Give yourself time to get comfortable with it. Okay, so let's say that we want to create, well, let me go over this. What's the difference between a page and an assignment? All right, a page is a place where you can just post content. So as you saw in just a few moments ago, we had some videos that we went over in class when we were doing our pre-writing. I put my clear learning target in there for that day. So basically, like a page would be, here's what you missed when you were away in terms of what we covered in class. So a lot of people that use Canvas like to create pages and they put all their materials or links or summaries of what they've done, or if we read this section of Beowulf in class, here's what we read from the book, so on and so forth. So I can add a new page, or if I had a page already created, I could add, I would see it down here. So let's say I teach multiple sections and I've created a page and I've imported that page, I can find it here. All right, so to add a new page, I'm going to click New Page. I'm going to give the name a page. So let's do test page. And then I can either indent to like make it more set apart or not. I'm just going to choose not for right now and add the item. All right, so there's my test page. Now, as I've said, Canvas allows you to either publish or not publish just about any content that you create. So I see here that the course is not published, the module is not published, and the page is not published. All right, that's what those symbols mean. So that means, again, students don't see those until they're published. So just, when you want to publish something, you just got to click on Publish. But notice, even though this is published and even though this is published now, the course is still not published. So that was something that fooled me at first. So just don't, you're smarter than that. So just remember to publish the course itself before you start having students access it. Otherwise, they'll look at you like you're crazy. There's nothing here. All right, so there's my test page. Now to edit the page, I just click on the page name. And it's going to open that up in a new tab. And I can see there's nothing there. So I'm going to go into the Edit panel. And it's going to give me an area where I can add all sorts of content. So I can type my content. I can change formatting using these various different tools. If I've uploaded files to my Canvas, which I'll talk about in a different video, I could go to Files, And if I had some course files that I've uploaded, I could insert those there. If I've got images, I can even search Flickr. So let me, let's see, let's try this out. Who knows what we're going to get here. Let's search for clock. All right, so if I want a picture of a clock to spruce up my content, I can just insert that there. And then I can maybe put a caption behind it. You are running out of time. All right, to finish. All right, something like that. It's kind of ominous. All right, so I can also put links in there to other pages. So if there's a lesson that we've done prior that taught a certain skill, I could click here and find that page that I've already created and put a link in there to that page, like, hey, check this page out. Remember we went over this? I could link to an assignment. So if there's an assignment that follows the content, I can go ahead and put the link to the assignment that I've created, which I haven't created yet, so that's why it's not there. But I can put that link in the page. I could link to a quiz, an announcement, a discussion, another module even, or I haven't used this one, the course navigation. I can also insert videos. So if there's a video that I want to insert, I can embed it by using the embed code, or I can just put the link. Now, what's really nice too, obviously you know how to, you can figure out how to do this with videos from YouTube. What's nice too is that when I've inserted PowerPoint files, let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to cancel this. I don't want to save any of these changes here. I know that for a lot of you that use either PowerPoint, haven't used this with Google Slides, so I'm not quite sure how it would go. But I like to use PowerPoint. The problem with PowerPoint, though, is sometimes when you give them the link, if they don't have that program, or they're just trying to look at it on a computer that doesn't have PowerPoint, or it's outdated or something like that, you know, they're not going to be able to see the slides. What I like about Canvas and this content, the way that you can insert files, is that Canvas can read PowerPoint files and give you a preview of the slides. So here's a PowerPoint presentation that I used in my English class. Notice this was part of an assignment that I gave. Notice that we had gone over this in class, and I wanted them to have this content from the PowerPoint. So I put the file in the assignment description, but there's this little icon that pops up beside any PowerPoint presentation that you insert, and when I click on that, I can see the entire slide presentation. So they can actually navigate through the slides without having to have the actual program itself, which is really, really nice, and I like that feature a lot. Okay, so let's go back to the dashboard here and back to journalism. All right, so we've inserted a test page in here. I've kind of showed you a little bit about how to edit pages. Assignments kind of work the same way. So if I want to add an assignment, again, I'm going to choose assignment from the drop-down. I'm going to add a new assignment because I'm creating it from scratch. So we'll call this one test assignment. All right. And again, the same thing. Anytime you create something, it's going to automatically be unpublished, and I can either keep it unpublished until I want students to see it, or with assignments, I think I can set a date. So I'm going to click on the name of the assignment to go into the editor. From this page, and notice I'm not editing yet, but it's on this page that I can create a rubric. So this is really nice. Now the rubric's a little glitchy in the browser that I'm using right now, which is Microsoft Edge. So I would highly recommend you use Chrome for at least this part. So creating a rubric is really nice. I can give the rubric a title. So we'll call this test rubric. Okay. If I've already created a rubric, I can use that to search for it as well. And then to create a criterion, I would just use this little pencil and put, I can change the name, like, let's see, camera knowledge. Okay, and update that. And then I can go in and I can put different marks here. So I can change this. Again, just clicking on the pencil, I can give you 10 points for that, for full marks. And, you know, sophisticated. There we go. And update that. And Canvas will give you, like, by default, it'll give you the full rating and the 0 rating. And then anything you want to put in between there, you just click the little plus symbol and assign a point value, give it a title, give it a description, so on and so forth. And then you can tally up the total points. Then these are little options. You can click to use this as rubric for assignment grading. And when you do that, when students turn in their work, you can actually, you could do this either on a desktop computer or on your phone if you've got the app. You can go through and use the rubric to grade student work. And this, what's great about this is that this applies even when they're not turning something in electronically. So even if they're submitting something on paper, like, or you know, like sometimes I'll have my students make posters. Obviously they don't turn those into Canvas, but I can put the rubric in the assignment for the poster. And then on my phone, I can, you know, when I do my walk around and look at their posters, I can actually use the app to mark different achievements that they made via the rubric. So the rubrics are really user-friendly that way. To edit the assignment, I would go to the Edit button there. And again, you'll see sort of a similar display to what you saw in Pages. I think you know how to use that at this point. I can put a point value for the assignment itself. If I want to have different types of assignments, which I haven't done, you could use that and customize that. This is a really useful part right here, the submission type. Online means that they're turning it in online somehow. There's a couple different ways they can do that. On paper means they're not turning it online at all. They're turning it in as a physical product. And external tool is not something that I've used before. Or you can just leave it as no submission. Online, let me show the options for that. So there's 4 different options. There's text entry, which means that basically they would type it into Canvas. So if you're using Chromebooks in class, this is, and let's say they need to write an in-class essay. This would be a great way to do that because they could sit there, write in Canvas and turn it in Canvas. So there would be no need for them to type it in Google Docs. They wouldn't need to navigate to other pages, and they could turn it in as soon as they're done. So that's a good use of that. Website URL, so maybe they're, for my film students, I had them submit a link to a portfolio they had created, so that's, they could just give me the link, or if they have to post a video and they posted it on YouTube for their assignment, they could just send me the link to that video. They can upload media recordings, so they can actually, using the app, when they go to submit an assignment through the app, and it's this type of assignment, it'll give them the option to record video or record audio, and they can record it at that moment. So if, like I've used this for group discussions where I want them to record their discussions, so they can upload that type of recording. And then of course just your traditional file uploads, and you could even get so specific as to choose what type of file they can upload to this. Group assignment, this is a really cool feature, but it's beyond the scope of this video. So feel free to investigate this on your own, or I'll try to make a video about this in the future. But basically you can assign students to groups and have them turn in an assignment that way, like one per group kind of thing. But you can grade it and give everyone in the group an individual grade. It's pretty cool. Require peer reviews. I've tried to use this before. It's a little, this one is a little half-baked in my opinion. So, I'm not going to really spend much time on that. And again, this stuff is stuff that you can explore as well on your own. All right, normally you're going to assign, give the assignment to everyone, and you can obviously select a due date. Remember, when you're picking times, you've got to put in the time that you want them to submit it by, and then to save that time, you have to hit done. All right, and then you can actually even control when the assignment is available from and until. So if you don't want them, accessing the assignment past a certain date or before a certain date, you can change that. You can also get more complex with, like if you have students that are absent, you can basically control who gets the assignment when, or make up assignments, that sort of thing. Again, those are kind of more advanced moves. All right, and so when you're all done with editing your assignment, it's going to ask you if you want to save it or save and publish. I'm just going to save it for now. And then what I'm going to do is go back to my modules. All right, so you can see now we've got two items of content in our modules. We've got a test page, which is published, so it's shown in green. It's got a check mark beside it. And we have our test assignment. And again, with any content in these modules, you can move these around. Okay, you can also control how much they're indented by clicking on this column. So if I want to indicate visually that this assignment goes with this page, I can just indent that way, or I can duplicate the assignment, edit it, remove it, share it with others. So there's a lot of options there. A couple more types of content that I want to show you in this video that I think are stuff you're going to use a lot. That would be external URL. So if you just want to link to a video that you want students to watch, but you don't necessarily want to put any more content around it, that would be more what a page is for. Let's say you just want to send them to a particular website. You can put the website name in there. You can determine how the name displays, and basically order those in the linear sequence that makes the most sense. You can also put in discussions. Discussions are pretty cool, so I'm going to select new topic there, and we'll do test discussion. And so if there's a topic that I want them to talk about or to weigh in on, again, to edit any content, you always click on the name. So let's say that we've watched a video in film class, and I want them to talk about what they saw in the cinematography. So I'm going to go in and edit this discussion. And I'll type in a question. What did the cinematography accomplish in revealing character? All right. So I want them to reply to that question. But I want them to see other replies and reply to those replies, so I want it to be a true discussion. So here's how I would do that. Now, with discussions, you can always add files. I'm not going to do that with this one, but it's an option. You can assign it to just a group of students, so you could have different discussion questions that you assign to different groups. I'm not going to get into that right now, though. So here are a couple options that I like to use. I want to have the users post before they see other replies. So I want them to weigh in with their own thoughts first before they see anyone else's response. So I'll check that. If I want to grade it, then I will enable grading. I want to grade their participation. If I want them to be able to like each other's replies, I can do that. We can even sort by likes, so whoever gets the most likes wins, that sort of thing. That's kind of mean, but oh well. And I've not used enable podcast feed. So those are the settings that I've used most often. I can set a point value for participation. And then I can obviously pick the date that if they have to weigh in by a certain day, I'll put a due date on it. All right, so I'm going to hit save. All right, and then to weigh in on that assignment, let me go back to modules. So to access that discussion, again, they're going to go to their module, they're going to click on it, and they'll be able to participate in that discussion and reply to others. That's been a really Students that I've used that with have found it pretty enjoyable to use that tool, and it really gives them a way to participate in a discussion, but do so in a, I think, sometimes a more controlled and thoughtful way than they do, just kind of raising hands or, out loud in class. What's nice too is that when the discussion responses come in, let me show you an example of that. So I've done some discussions with Honors English 12. So here's a discussion that we've done. Evil and monsters. Unlike the monsters in Beowulf, those in our world are not always easy to identify. And here's the question: what does evil mean to you? Write your own definition to the word. Provide some examples of real-life monsters. And then I found this line to be pretty useful. Post your reply, then comment on at least 2 other people's replies. Keep it classy. And that tends to, discourage smart aleck comments. But here are some of the replies that we've gotten, and when everyone's replied, I can actually display these on the Promethean, and we can kind of go through and see them, or they can look on their app. They can use their phone to weigh in on these discussions. So it's really an easy way to involve your class in an online discussion that you have some control over, and that you can then use in class and also give some grades for. Okay, so those are the major types of content that I wanted to show you. And again, all of this stuff is stuff that can be arranged, rearranged, and posted in what we call a module, which would comprise a unit. I've showed you kind of what we do with our unit planner by putting that as a external link to an external URL, which is like a Google Doc for us in English 12. And so that's how we would insert a unit into there. One more thing that I do want to show you are the announcements. Actually, that's not how you would add an announcement. To add an announcement to your class, you're going to basically go to Announcements and click New Announcement, and they basically work just like messages in Manage Back. These are just class-wide announcements. You can also include all the... What's nice is that any type of content that you're creating, you're always going to see this rich text editor. So that will always allow you to include video, links, media, external tools like whatever you want to add, like Quizlet, YouTube, record your own stuff, format it. So there's a lot of ways that you can customize the content that you're delivering to your students in what you feel is the most effective way for them to receive it. All right, so that's about all that all this video is going to cover here. I think that we've covered most of our learning target here. We know how to create a module, publish it, and then explore the content that a module can include. Oh yeah, that reminds me, one more important thing, and I want to stress this again. Make sure that when you create a module for the first time and you're ready for your students to dive in, you've got some content that you want them to see, make sure that you've actually taken the step of publishing the course. So again, I think I did that wrong the first time, and I asked them to log in and then they couldn't see anything. It's because I hadn't published the course itself. So make sure you do that, and then they'll be able to see it. Okay, if you have any questions, come see me, talk to me, send me an email, or go to the help section in Canvas and chat with them, or call their support hotline, or explore their guides. They're very helpful. See you next time.